Am I a ladyman? I have boobas. It can't be that bad, guys. Guys, it can't be that bad. It can't. It can't. Of course he would tell us to get strapped. Chonkla's thrown in every direction. I don't know. I just want to put those sweet meaty balls in my mouth, you know, like. We're back with more Dylan Hollis. The All-Beef Cookbook was a 1981 mistake.
Gentles and ladymen, welcome back to the kitchen. Might I say, it is so good to see you again, and I trust you've been keeping happy.
Hold on, did he say gentles and ladymen? Am I a ladyman? I have boobas!
Well, healthy and content. And if that is the case, shall we put an end to that right now? Because I've gathered you all here today to talk about one of the most outlandish cookbooks I've had the pleasure to plaster my peepers upon as of late, and it's this little concern from 1981. Now, from the outset, you may be able to tell that it is a bona fide, down-home, good old-fashioned community cookbook, my favorite, with hallmark comb binding diminutive size.
Okay, that comb binding, that's so grandma-coded, dude. 100,000,000,000%.
And delightful front cover. And you might ask, Dylan, what is on the front cover? Why, it is the Sheridan County Cowbells All-Beef Cookbook from the great state of Wyoming. And I do want you to ponder on that phrase, all beef, as you think about what usually falls in the last chapter of most cookbooks. Now back to Wyoming. Sheridan County lies way up in the frosty north of the state, just bordering Montana. The whole county has about 30,000 people, and it's home to the town of Sheridan. And it's about as Wyoming and western of a town you can find. As noted by all these family cattle brands you can see here forming a border.
Oh, is that what that is? Interesting. Okay.
America may be too young a nation to have family crests and coats of arms, but you can think of cattle brands as an iconographic equivalent. And indeed, if we open up the book to the Our History section, you can see down here all the family cattle brands of the families of the Sheridan County Cowbells founders. They are but a chapter of the Wyoming Cowbells, founded in the town of Lander in the year 1940, and it's an organization dedicated to one thing: furthering the beef industry. And you can glean as much from the front cover, where it ordains the command to eat beef. They believe the livestock industry is of basic importance to world existence, and that's a quote I pulled directly from their website because they still exist to promote all things cow and cow adjacent and cow related. In '92, they changed their name to the Wyoming Cattle Women, and they continue to operate and confer and meet with the Wyoming Beef Council et al. And you're free to check out their webpage to learn more, because I'm certainly not doing them any justice. But enough, Dylan, you say, get to the book! Now, the Wyoming All-Beef Cookbook may not seem that egregious to you until I introduce you to the table of...
It can't be that bad, guys. Guys, it can't be that bad. It can't. Because, I mean, it's basically like an all-savory meals cookbook. I mean, who doesn't like savory foods, right?
Contents, where beneath the headings of all things savory, we get to the chat.
Oh, beef salad? I mean, I've had a hamburger salad before. Maybe that's what they mean? You know, like with iceberg lettuce, ground beef, pickles. Basically, like making a burger, but with iceberg lettuce. Oh, it's so good. It's so good with ranch. Oh, it's amazing. But like baking with beef. So like meatloaf?
Chapter Baking with Beef. Sound the alarm. And I'm afraid it's just as we feared, because the Cowbells took their mission at face value and implored you to insert literal beef into your desserts and sweets. And I'm not talking about suet and tallow. I'm talking about ground and roast beef in your cookies, candies, cakes, and breads. What a fever dream, yet we lie awake. So strap yourselves in and get comfy, because we gonna be making 4 of these recipes in the name of that which we...
Of course he would tell us to get strapped.
Do best. Exploration into yesteryear's acts of culinary warfare. So our chapter opens with a proclamation. Add a little
Beef fudge! Beef fudge! Add a little protein to your desserts with the addition of ground beef?
Protein to your desserts with the addition of ground beef. Tasty and nutritious. And you can see the elevating absurdity with wonders like beef bread, beef nut bread.
Beef bread I could understand, because, so, I don't know, I would imagine that like some of the best ways that you could incorporate protein or beef product into your foods would be to do like a bone broth. Because bone broth has a lot of protein. Bone broth itself, if you make bone broth, that is a really, really good source of protein. And you can incorporate that into cooking to get more protein-rich foods. But like, they're straight up putting ground beef
beef cranberry fruit nut bread. Anyway, we'll be starting with the middle one, the plain beef nut bread. Partly because the cranberry one asks for fresh cranberries, and it simply isn't the season. We dodged a bullet with that one. We're going to be starting with our
Yeah, because fresh cranberries are tart.
dry ingredients. And here that is 2 cups of flour, with our leavening being 3 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda. We got a ½ teaspoon of salt in there, and they're actually counting the ½ cup of sugar here as a dry ingredient, even though we bakers typically see sugar as a wet ingredient. And once that's all together, we're to stir in some walnuts, which is essentially flouring our nuts. Ooh, better than deflouring, but that's an old wives' tale that decrees that floured nuts do not sink. They said the same about the Titanic. So the premise will be to combine the dry ingredients and then separately mix together the beefy wet ingredients and
Does that make this a beefcake? Is that why he's doing this? Is this all to create a pun so that he can say beefcake?
bring the two together in matrimony. Let's 3-heat the oven to pre-50 and begin. 2 cups of flour, here we go. I hope you guys been baking, you've been keeping well and doing all the good things. 1, 2. Now for the leavening with 3 teaspoons of baking powder. That's a lot of floof powder. Now they're calling for a further teaspoon of baking soda, which is going to be way too much for my altitude. I'm at 72.20 feet, so I'm going to cut that in half and only use a ½ teaspoon of baking soda. Bob's your uncle. And in goes the salt and the ½ cup of sugar. I'm simply trying to ignore what's coming down the line. Chopping up our walnuts with a perfectly normal implement. Don't judge me, I do what I want. We're literally making beef
a big
bread.
cleaver knife.
I fear I've chopped too many nuts, but in they go. Does this stop
You can never have enough nuts.
them from settling to the bottom? No, not at all. All you're getting is dusty nuts. If you want that, go to town. And now we need the beef. Oh dear. Does this got the beef diaper? Oh, we got the beef diaper. Oh, we need a ½ pound of this, which is a lot. You know, as a baker, I thought I could avoid this, but I guess not. In goes a cup of buttermilk. As I always say, if you don't have buttermilk, you can always go to the store. Okay, so Miss Ann Coakley, my food and nutrition teacher at Work Academy Bermuda, where I went to school.
Okay, you can make homemade buttermilk. All you need is milk and vinegar. And then you let that sit and let it, do its chemistry thing. But that's all you need to make homemade buttermilk.
And where I grew up, impressed upon me that you must always read liquids on the counter at eye level, meaning get down on your knees and read this dead on. The thinking is, if you pick this up and read it, it's going to change depending on the angle where your eyes meet. So just, pop that down. It's just right onto the beef. As you can see, it's doing just about what you'd expect, being disgusting. Just some pink nondescript soured meat juice for your amusement. We gotta melt 3 tablespoons of margarine. I no longer melt this in butter in the microwave. I can't stand it. It always pops and explodes and it gets out of the vessel no matter how low a power mode or how infrequently or frequently I do it. I don't know if you've got any tips, but it hates me, so I'm just doing this on the stove. Fire! Now that it's melted, we just stir it in, followed by a teaspoon of vanilla extract, to the beef. Everyone loves vanilla beef. This is
Vanilla
really bad
beef.
idea. Now, because this is partly a baking soda and acid reaction, once we mix the dry with the wet, we need to act kind of fast because you're producing gas and you're going to want to get that in the oven. So I recommend, if you're baking this, I recommend you have your 9x5 loaf pan ready, greased, and I'm using a parchment sling because there's literally no reason not to. It guards against sticking, especially in a dark pan. So we're going to put 1 and 1 together to make 2, hopefully not summon something, and throw her in the oven. Oh dear.
Goodness.
It's a fairly heavy batter.
Well, yeah.
On account of the cow. It moves with the...
Oh, it's so pink, but this is not meatloaf. This is not meatloaf.
The sort of sentience. And it goes on the middle rack, 350 degrees for 40 to 50 minutes. Now, as this is baking, I'm getting a bit of deja vu. Way back to the dark ages of August of 2020 when I recorded and uploaded the first recipe ever. That was the pork cake, some of you may remember, which was a spiced, molassesy fruit cake with some quantity of ground pork in it. It exploded, and I've been doing this ever since. I've baked the pork cake with Jay Leno and Kelly Clarkson on the Kelly Clarkson Show. Crazy! But if we're speaking about why this recipe is so strange, it's because there's a precedent for pig, right? There's a precedent for pork fat in baked goods, not beef. And you say, Dylan, why? Well, it's because ground pork is not that far off of lard, my nemesis. In times of strife, if you didn't have shortening, lard, butter, you could appreciably approximate lard by using ground pork, right? It's fatty, it sort of melts into the background in the oven, gets overtaken by spices, and that's all right. Strange? Sure. I described the pork cake as tasting like a question mark. Beef does not do that. Beef is what I would call robust. It does not blend into the background. It stays where it is, definitively in the realm of savory, which is why if we're trying to use beef fat in baking, you use suet. Okay, what's suet? Suet is raw cow fat, specifically fat from the organs, the kidneys, I believe.
So not tallow, which is from different fats.
And that stuff is prized and used in baking and mincemeat because it does not have the same beefy, savory flavors as fat from the rest of the cow, like the gristle on your ribeye. Okay, so you take that suet, that raw fat, you heat it up, you clarify it, you strain it. What is that? Rendering. And you get tallow. Rendered suet is tallow, which is great in baking and cooking, and for some inexplicable reason, people have been putting it on their faces, but that's another matter entirely. When you render pork fat, fat from anywhere on the pig, you get lard. So it's all about the fats, just like it was in 1915. Didn't have lard? Go ahead and use ground pork. That's why this recipe is so insane, because it has nothing to do with fat, as evidenced by the fact that it asks...
it's just pure ground beef. There is no suet. There is no tallow. There's no freaking, bone broth. It's none of those things. It's just straight up ground beef.
It's for lean ground beef. This is just beef for the sake of beef. Maybe a slim argument for protein. It's been 50 minutes, and the recipe says to bake for around so, or until brown and crusty, meaning this method contains both the words moistened and crusty. Quite the accomplishment. Oh, that's crusty, all right. Now, I've only let this cool a trifle because they insist on serving it hot. Such bounties were afforded. You ready? Oh my. Admittedly, the rise is not amazing. Perhaps I should have used all the soda, but I think that's the least of my concerns.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
It is so far performing like a really crusty banana bread.
Oh, that's different, man. I'm just gonna do a giant slice like that because I don't play around.
It looks like banana bread, but why does it look like banana bread?
All right, family, recipe 1 of the beef jamboree. Face your eyes upon this.
That looks like banana bread. If somebody showed me this loaf, I'd be like, oh, it's a walnut loaf, or oh, it's banana bread. But why does it look so weird? Like, why did you bake it so weird? Because why does it have that texture on the top? Because banana bread should not have that texture on the top.
Loaf, and tell me what you think of it, because I don't want to think much more than
That doesn't even look like old gray beef. Doesn't look like there's ground beef in there.
I already am. The weight, substantial. The smell, disconcerting. I'm gonna break this in half so I can get some centerpiece. God. Bad. First few chews you think you're okay, but then it hit me in the back of the throat. Cow. You know that savory, salty, slightly umami flavor from hot beef? Might be a stretch to say, I just don't think that goes with vanilla and sugar. And the walnuts just seem to be here to bear witness to this atrocity. I'm sorry, cowbells, the first one is a miss. Good morning, big dogs. How'd you sleep? Yeah, me neither. So the beef nut bread was not a success. And some of you might have seen that.
That was not a good beef cake. Not all of them are.
Coming from a mile away, which means we're going to be moving on now to recipe number 2. I checked this morning to make sure the beef nut bread didn't move from where I put it last night. Just keep an eye on it for undulations. But truly, despite the jokes, and before we do move on, I do want to drive home that this video is not to purely make fun of this cookbook, right? I do believe when a recipe is written, put in a book, published, and, sold with an organization's name on it, there has to be some merit here.
There's gotta be some good recipe in this book.
There might be something we're missing, and there's got to be potential. So it's not purely just for fun.
No, some of it's content. No. We started with that recipe first because there's no way it's good. And if it is good, then content. And if it's bad, content anyway.
Is an explorative element to this. We're just trying desperately to find it. And find it we might with our second adventure, the beef spice cake. That's right, folks. As you can see at the top of page 86, in broad daylight, a beef spice cake. We love beef cakes around here, right? Gets me excited.
Here we go.
So let's take a peek at the ingredients. Right off the bat, we can tell it's going to be sweet with a cup of sugar, followed by a half cup of shortening. So there's added fat in this recipe, just like the previous bread. We have a whole cup of raisins. Wonderful. They're going to be plumpened nicely in 1 1/2 cups of water. For the beef portion of the beef spice cake, we have a cup of cooked ground beef. Again,
cooked Cooked.
Lean. This is different because this is calling for it to be cooked. The previous was raw. For spices, we have a teaspoon each of cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg, the old school trifecta, and finally a half teaspoon of salt. And you'll notice that all of this is to be put in a saucepan and boiled for 4 minutes. A veritable babbling brook of a witch's brew. When cool, we're to add 1 3/4 cups of flour, a level teaspoon of soda, I will use the whole amount this time, and a beaten egg. Mix well and bake at 300 to 325 degrees for 1 hour. Now,
No bake chocolate beef cookies? Salt and vinegar. Somebody help me. What do you mean no bake beef cookies? You have to cook the ground beef. What does it matter if it's no bake if like you still have to cook the freaking ground beef? The whole point of no bake cookies is to not use the oven at all, probably because it's too hot to use the oven.
325 degrees for 1 hour. Now, isn't that peculiar? I've baked tons of recipes and I've never seen laxity assigned to the range of oven temperatures. Granted, it's essentially saying just a slow oven, but still odd for 1981. The starting step in this sequence will be to cook the beef and we'll measure it cooked. Oh my Lanta. Hey Dylan, what you doing with that beef? Oh, you know, just starting my cake. Also, pardon the stove, it's been permanently maimed. Nobody warned me about legit oven cleaners. Have you ever used one? That stuff will take your eyebrows off. I don't reckon we need to brown this. I think we're just cooking it. But she also doesn't say whether or not to drain it, so we have ourselves a functional dilemma. What's your stance, Captain? Do we drain it? I don't think so. I think she would have specified if so. There's truly not much. It's pretty lean. We're just gonna go for it. Into the saucepan, a cup of sugar. Half a cup of shortening. Do you like Crisco's rebrand? It's all retro now. I think Jell-O's done it as well.
Actually, I don't mind the rebrand for that. It is retro.
always used Crisco.
Usually, what they've been doing is taking like all the soul out of rebrands. But I like how they went back in time with the Crisco rebrand. So it doesn't really feel like a rebrand. It feels more nostalgic.
And it's really dapper. A big honking cup of raisins in there. Also, I picked these up the other day at the co-op. They're flame raisins. I don't know what flame raisins are. Are they good? 1.5 cups of water and a cup of beef. I can't get over this. A teaspoon each of cinnamon, sorry Pensies, ground cloves, which is a lot of cloves. Maybe it'll hide the beef. And nutmeg. Half teaspoon of salt.
I really do not like raisins. I really don't like raisins. I can tell I'm gonna hate this.
And you bring it all together. Fire! We bring this to the boil and boil it for 4 minutes. All right, it's been 4 minutes. Still looks pretty terrible. Smells very much of cloves. We need to let that cool before we move on. I'm going to preheat the oven to 325. So if you were paying attention, you may have noticed we have another dilemma ahead of us. While she tells us what temperature to bake it at, vaguely, and for how long, she does not tell us what to bake it in. A 9x13 is out because there's simply not enough batter. Our other option is a 9-inch round, but this is a single layer cake, so that would be a little bit unusual. Typically these are used for layer cakes, but we're not filling and frosting our beef cake, unfortunately. Sorry to disappoint. So we're settling on a 9-inch square, which is prototypical for these cakes, right? Think of the chocolate potato cake of yore. You've got a single layer, unfrosted spice cake. Go ahead with a 9-inch or 8-inch square. It is time to assemble, so in goes our 1 3/4 cups of flour, a level teaspoon of soda, and a beaten eggy. Says to mix well. Oh, it's foaming! Oh, foamy beef! No! Oh, what terrors!
Why is
Welcome
this
to the
foamy
Foamy
beef?
Beef Express. Hold on, maybe this isn't a big enough pan. I don't think that pan's big enough. Quick, pivot! You got to pivot on the heel, y'all. Get out of my beefcake! I didn't account for the foam.
Get out of my beefcake! Storms into room. How dare you! Get out of my beefcake! We've been together for 5 years! So funny.
And it goes 325 for an hour. Allow me to take this moment to thank our sponsor, you. Because you guys have been so kind and you picked up my books, Baking Yesteryear and Baking Across America, I'll never do a sponsor segment. There's no sense and I hate them, so why would I put them on you? So thank you, and let's get back to the beef. All right, cuz it's been 55 minutes and it smells done, which typically means it is done. And the smell is just cloves. Let's see what we got. Oh dear. That is dense. Appearance-wise, it looks like a fruitcake, very similar to the pork cake I made in 2020. Let's just double check. There's a lot of resistance there. Yeah, it's done. But can we get it out?
That's what she said.
You ready? Oh! Let's see if we can't cut into it.
It looks like banana cake. And that's what makes me so angry about this. I'm going to have a crash out. If I came over and I sliced into that and someone didn't warn me first, chonkla's thrown in every direction.
Do you get dehydrated a lot? Need a drink that won't break the bank? Then you should get Gamersupps. They believe in traditional American values, like anime girl guys. It's caffeine-free and caffeinated in 2 kinds of tubs. Gamersupps improved my social life, and now I can stop seeing people in the mirror. Popular flavors include Guacamole Gamer Fart 9000, Sweet 6-Pack, Blowhole Blast, and Sploosh. Use discount ChaCha at checkout for 10% off. Stay hydrated, stay hydrated, stay hydrated.
It's a neat little round, isn't it? Well, it's a bit rubbery, guys. Oh
Rubbery?
My. Is that beef? Recipe number 2, here we go.
Oh. Help. Help.
No. Pardon me. I'm not exaggerating, that's very, very bad. The beef is what I would call front and center, baby. I mean, not so much in flavor, but in texture for sure. Very rubbery, bouncy, and chewy, because the beef, we not only...
Well, it's fully cooked at the start, so it's going to have really, really chewy texture. No.
Cooked and boiled, but baked too. Thrice cooked beef in a cake I would not recommend, and...
Yeah, it would basically be overcooked at that point. Like, terribly overcooked.
Cloves are there, sure, but it only serves to add a medicinal quality to the cow, and you cannot seem to escape that ground beef taste. Unlike pork, which kind of melts, the pork cake was alright. This is definitively not. I'm losing a bit of faith because I fail to believe that someone has taste tested this. I'm beginning to notice that the rest of the recipes in the book have...
Yeah, was this an entire, like, a prank? Was, like, this a meme book? I'm so confused.
Names associated with them. The names of the recipe writer. They're proud of them. Calico Beans, Barbara Norris. Skillet Spaghetti, Betty Turley. Hamburger Casserole, Arlene Barbala. The beef nut bread, nobody. Beef spice cake, nobody. Blank. Nobody would possibly assign their name to that. Driven into exile, into anonymity. It's all coming into focus, but we must persevere. On to the penultimate recipe, recipe number 3, and we're going to be taking a pause from baking and moving into the realm of confectionery. That is, beef confectionery. So if you may cast your gaze over to page 81, you will see we have not 1, but 2 recipes for beef fudge.
Like, why?
Do apologize if this is your first introduction to the existence of beef fudge. It is indeed a thing. It's absurd, and it's oft cited as one of the most WTF recipes from yesteryear, and we're going to be making one of them. Pertaining to the makeup of these beefy confections, you can see that Merle Shreve's recipe for beef fudge is homemade, all from scratch, a list of ingredients and a very detailed method. Harriet Stark's recipe for beef fudge uses the recipe on the back of the tin. It's the $1 million fudge recipe found on the back of the marshmallow cream jar. She says to make that as per usual, but to add 1.5 cups of ground, cooked roast beef in place of nuts. I'll say that again. Roast beef in place of nuts.
No.
We've moved on from ground beef, darling. We've graduated. Now, funnily enough, the recipe for fudge is still on the back of a 7-ounce marshmallow cream jar. However, it redirects you to a website because they couldn't be bollocksed. Both this jar and the recipe in question are under the Kraft Heinz umbrella, now segmented into the subordinates Jet Puffed and Baker's Chocolate. And if we go to the website, you can see Fantasy Fudge. It used to be called $1 Million Fudge. They changed the name long ago. It's the same recipe, same lineage. And scanning the ingredients today, you can see we have 3 cups of sugar, 3/4 of a cup of butter or margarine, 2/3 of a cup of evaporated milk.
Leave the recipe as it is. Leave the recipe as it is.
Milk, 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate, 7 ounces of marshmallow cream, a cup of chopped walnuts, and a teaspoon of vanilla. We ought to bring that sugar, butter, and evaporated milk to a full rolling boil and cook it until it reaches 234 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we add the chocolate, marshmallow cream, stirring until melted, and finally the nuts and the vanilla. We pour that into a 9-inch pan and let it cool. But Dylan, that's a new recipe. Don't worry, I did some digging. Here's a period recipe for the fantasy/$1 million fudge, and as you can see, man, it's pretty much the same. The only real differences being this asks for it to be cooked to 238 degrees Fahrenheit, and to be poured into a 13 by 9-inch pan. You know, I was about to say I cleaned this really well to get the beef flavors out, but it doesn't make a difference. Off to the races with 3 big old cups of sugar. Let's get our margarine in there. 2/3 of a cup of evaporated moo juice. And we start by cooking just this, boiling it, and bringing it to the softball stage. You know, it's worth noting that this recipe can be considered a legit fudge. Barring the beef, of course, because it's looking for precise temperatures and stages and all that stuff. You might remember my Velveeta fudge or the peanut butter fudge. And those fudges aren't so much fudges as they...
But ChaCha, how would these women have left their mark on history unless they broke the mold? I think all of these recipes would just gather because nobody would eat them.
They are solidified buttercream frostings, just held together by the sheer might and starches of powdered sugar. They're still good though, but this is more legit. It's so hot in here, sorry if I'm shiny. Before we fire this, let's get everything else ready so that we're prepared. Well,
if anything, so far it's proving that mental illness is real. And that if enough women get together and hype each other enough, they can delude themselves into believing that all of the recipes are good and valid.
12 ounces of chalky chips coming right up. Did you know that these chocolate chips were invented specifically because of the cookie? The Toll House chocolate chip cookie came before chocolate chips were invented. These were produced just to make the cookie easier. Read all about it in Baking Across America. Let's open this up. Is it gonna pop? Take your bets. Oh, a little creamy emanation never hurt anyone. Now tell me what you think about this business with the ground cooked roast beef, because we need to get that ready too, and I trust your discerning beef fudge palates. Is there a world where they ever mean shredded roast? Or like, are they talking about roast beef, roast beef? I'm of half.
No. It is not deli meat. If I had to look at this from a homemaker's position, and I've been a homemaker for years, I know how to cook. What you would do is you would do a slow cooker roast. Slow roast. And the idea is that the meat is so tender and fall apart that when you're putting it in the fudge, it's tender and fall apart and you're probably not going to notice it as much. That's what my mindset would be for this fudge recipe, is that you cut it up into small little chunks, but it's like a moist, well-cooked, tender meat.
If I mind just to chop this up now. We need 1.5 cups of the stuff. Oh my gosh, it smells like a deli up in here. In place of...
This is going to be a disaster because a roast, this is not.
Nuts, use roast beef. I've never heard such a thing. I've never heard such a thing in my life. I mean, what a substitution. Hey, I don't have any nuts. Can I use beef? I have a feeling this needs to be really fine. You know what? It says ground, so let's grind it. I only want us to do this once. Clear. Please be 1.5 cups. Oh, it's on the money. You know what? That bodes well. Maybe they did mean deli roast beef because that package size has not changed in a while. Which means the only thing we have left for the mise en place is Nilla.
Please do not tell me that these women actually suggested using the deli meat. At first, I thought I had respect for whatever woman created this recipe. I was wrong.
Let's go! Now, as this comes to the boil, I should tell you that I decided to go with the old school recipes instruction as far as pan size is concerned, and I'm going to be using a 13x9. I've already put a parchment sling in there. The new recipe says a 9-inch square. It's just the difference between thick and thin fudge. But I am using the new recipe's instruction for temperature. It says 234, the old says 238. You never know if they've changed the temperature because they've changed the ingredients in the marshmallow cream, and I don't want any scorching. Boy, if you thought baking was the only thing to change with altitude, you'd be wrong, because confectionery and candy changes with elevation as well. And that's all because of air pressure, baby. Technically, this asks for 234 degrees Fahrenheit, but at my altitude of 7,200 feet, that's going to be closer to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. It's about a 2 degree Fahrenheit reduction per 1,000 feet gained in elevation, and that's just because of air pressure. It is relentless. And it looks like we're just about there. Again, if we were to take this to this softball stage, which is assuming we're at sea level, it would...
That's for caramel. So if you wanted to make a really, really soft, chewy caramel, you would get it to the softball stage.
It would actively be too high. We're looking for 220, or if we...
Now you want to do like a hard caramel, like a Werther's caramel. You know, those hard caramel candies that you find wrapped up. Yeah, that's hardball stage.
If we were following the old recipe that's asking for 238, we would be looking for 224. But you're probably not as high as me. All right, I'm gonna call it. Let's throw in the chips and the marshmallow cream. Oh, that looks good, doesn't it? Too bad, in goes the beef. This is terrible! Don't forget about the Nilla. All right, let's pour this out. Great. Great work, everyone. And we just need to let that cool completely. Good morrow, sports fans. Are you ready for some beef fudge?
Please, 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 please. Why?
How about that for a chocolate patio? Admittedly, I was worried it wasn't going to set because it was rather thin when we poured it out, wasn't it? But it took a long time to cool down and it's fairly solid now. I do not, however, think we can lift this straight out by the parchment. Maybe that's why they changed it to a 9-inch square to make it, easier to come out as a block. I suppose a good old-fashioned test wouldn't hurt. 3, 2, 1, go, go! Ah! Beef fudge. I shall cut this straight down the middle like a
fudge.
maniac. Okay, folks, what do we think? It's a fudge. I can't see any beef here.
That looks like dog dookie. That looks like molded dog dookie. No, actually, that looks like cat food. High key, that looks like tinned cat food. Not even gonna lie. That is tinned cat food. In a square. In a triangle, in a rectangle. It's freaking cat food.
From the exterior, it's got a nice crackly top. It is a bit soft, but I mean, 234 is a degree below what most would consider softball stage, even at sea level, so maybe they just want a soft fudge. Just make sure to cool it down. Don't have a hot kitchen.
Bro, that's fancy feast.
We need to taste it, don't we?
No, he likes it. Shut the frick up. Stop! 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 No!
How bizarre. I can't say I registered the beef. All right, I'm not going so far as to say that beef improves the flavor of any fudge out there, but the flavor profile of roast beef seems to fairly match that of the chocolate. I'm not explaining
I rage quit.
it well, but that curve is kind of analogous.
Yeah, say psych right now!
Oh my god. I would eat
Stop!
this.
No!
I don't know what that says about me. It's
It looks like cat food!
not because beef somehow makes a superior fudge. It's because the flavor of the beef seems to be driven into exile. Perhaps
Subathon goal is crazy. No!
that speaks well to the magic of chocolate over anything else, or that it's just been heated so hot
meat
that the deli notes
fudge.
are gone. 1.5 cups of roast beef in a fudge, and I'm not in peril. Folks, can we consider this a marginal
I hate
success?
this.
1 success out of 4 thus far. And I mean, if you want to add some protein
Yeah, it does look like liver pate. That's why I was saying it looks like fancy feast.
to your fudge, you have my dubious seal of approval. Wow. Alrighty, honored guests, all hands on deck because we've reached our grand finale, the final recipe we're going to be doing in the Sheridan County Cowbell's All-Beef Cookbook. And you say, Dylan, what might that be? Well, on page 86, beneath our fallen honored foe, the beef spice cake, you'll see a recipe that we're not going to be doing for no-bake chocolate beef cookies. You can see the recipe in question. Beef sugar
Stop. Arrest that man.
plums. Oh yeah! Yes, I'm afraid it so appears at present that the storied Victorian confection of yore, the sugar plum, seems to have an all-American beef brethren. And you say, Dylan, what is a sugar plum? Well, historically it was either a fruit, a nut, a seed, or a spice, coated over and over again in a sugar syrup that would be colored. That syrup would harden to form little balls of very festive hard candies. My compatriot Max Miller actually made a video where he laboriously manufactured his own sugar plums, and I suppose now it's our time to shine with beef sugar plums. The ingredients are as follows: 1 tablespoon of butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, a teaspoon of brandy flavoring. There's no hooch in that house. A cup of chopped walnuts, a cup of cooked ground beef. Again, they want us to cook the beef before we throw it in there. 1 1/2 cups of graham cracker crumbs, a medium apple, and a cup of raisins chopped. And if we are to see
Oh,
what lies in our future, we're to
raisins.
melt the butter
They
in a
strike
saucepan.
back.
Add the cooked beef, raisins, and apple and brown sugar. Now that part is basically just making mincemeat with meat. Cook that over low heat until mixture becomes thick. Got it. Add nuts and cool. Okay, then add the brandy. Work in graham cracker crumbs and form into small balls.
So are these like... this face. Y'all, this is the thumbnail.
All right, so I mean, this is basically like a protein ball recipe, minus the protein and peanut butter.
No, I was gonna say, so it's basically meatballs. We're just making like a savory meatball, essentially. Because sometimes people put like craisins or raisins in meatballs. Are these like sweet balls?
butter and stuff. We roll those balls in powdered sugar after balls are cold. And store in covered
Cold balls?
container in refrigerator. Improves with age. You know,
What?
I doubt that. Let's get ourselves started with some graham cracker crumbs. We need 1.5 cups. Let's see where this gets us. Just like that.
I feel like these are just gonna be meatballs.
Now, you know me, I don't recommend
Because, like, people put breadcrumbs in a meatball. This would just be a sweeter sort of meatball.
a lot of kitchen appliances. I'm of the mind that you can do a lot on manpower alone. You simply don't need them. However, a food processor is one of those great things that you never realized you needed until you get one. Like I say, it's a blender that doesn't complain. All right, we have our 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs ready, and I'm going to empty this out and shove an apple in there because the apple needs to be ground. And I'm going to immediately contradict myself because this is a great tool too. 3, 2, 1. I think that'll be stellar. We're using a Granny Smith apple, and I mean, this is going to
So that's gonna be like a sour tart element.
brown a
Okay.
little bit in the meantime, but it'll only be cosmetic. On to the walnuts. I love walnuts. Chopping walnuts for beef sugar plums. I have this theory that people who say they don't like walnuts are really just accustomed to bad and off and rancid walnuts because I don't know about y'all, but I've been getting a lot of bad walnuts recently from the store. I mean, within date, I bought a bag the other day and
Oh, he was getting them fresh. I was gonna say that, like, the best thing to do is to buy your walnuts and store them in the freezer. Just store your nuts in the freezer because then they won't go bad.
it was rancid from the get-go. I was like, what's wrong with people and their packaging of nuts? Look at that. I'm an absolute pro. Right on the money. Raisin time. Now, whilst we're here, it's worth explaining, piercing through some of the recipe fog, some clarification. Whenever you see 1 cup of chopped walnuts, nope.
Won't your nuts shrink in the freezer? If it's over like a really... Oh, I see what you're talking about. I'm going to continue this video and pretend like I didn't get got.
Punctuation. That means you measure chopped walnuts to equal 1 cup. However, when you see 1 cup of raisins, comma, chopped, you're to measure a cup of raisins and then chop them after. It's a bit daft, isn't it? But that's just the way it be. And I will chop these with a knife to the best of my ability because when you put raisins in a food processor, just like figs and dates, it kind of just turns into a hard paste. And there we have it. Can I confer with you for a moment? The recipe says to melt butter in a saucepan and then add the cooked beef et al.
Saucepan.
I'm very lazy. I don't like to do that many dishes. Might you allow me the liberty to cook the beef in the saucepan and then simply add the butter after? Now, this is not lean beef, so I may drain this a bit once it's cooked. Here goes nothing. But you know, for a moment, my mind glazed over the ridiculousness of this. I'm going to drain this so as to not
I dislike that this is not going to be a meatball recipe, and all of my hope is lost.
anger the beef council.
That's not the right way to make the beef sugar plums. You're supposed to drain it.
All right. And now we add in a tablespoon of butter. Once that's melted, add the raisins,
Take out the fat. Put new fat in. Old fat, bad, new fat, good.
apple, and our cup of brown sugar. And again, we're essentially just making a mincemeat here. I mean, it even
Yeah,
kind of looks like
it's a
mincemeat. We're
mincemeat.
just using ground beef instead of suet. The apples have released their water, so it's fairly liquid. As far as using cow products in desserts is concerned, this recipe so far is the truest form of them all. I mean, it even smells good. I won't lie, though I really am resisting the urge to put in some cinnamon and nutmeg and stuff. It is a troubled mincemeat, and look, it's just starting to get thick. Okay, I am calling it now, so in goes the walnuts. We're gonna do a little mixy-mixy-do and let it cool. Let's get this in here so you can see. Lovely jubbly! We'll be using a teaspoon of the finest rum on the planet, the export of my home country of Bermuda. And finally, for this stage, the cracker crumbs. Whether or not this will form a ball remains to be seen, so hold your breath. Ooh, it's looking good, Captain. Let's take a test. We'll use a cookie scoop to portion. All right. Woo! If we go
that-
by smell alone,
But why does that look good though? But wait, why does it look? It looks good.
I have the most faith in this recipe
It
because
looks
even though it didn't
good.
taste it, the beef fudge had that deli smell about it. I found that rolling these with wet hands makes this a whole lot easier. I mean, some of these are just going to be raggedy, but even the best of us are sometimes. They are absolutely old-fashioned looking, but they don't look bad, do they? And the penultimate
No,
step
they
is
don't
just
look
to
bad.
chill these down. As for the rest of the recipes in the baking with beef chapter, let me admit to you that they're not all as outlandish as the recipes I've picked for us to do today. Take, for example, page 84 and 85, where you'll find not one, not two, but
They look like impossibles. I don't know. I just want to put those sweet meaty balls in my mouth. You know, like
3 recipes for suet pudding, a dessert that you'd expect to find bits of the cow in. One of these suet puddings the cowboys apparently used to call son of a gun in a sack. I like that. There's also a great hors d'oeuvre-y looking beef and cheese bread that has a yeast-risen dough, shredded Swiss cheese, and thinly sliced smoked beef. I'm down with that. But they are now ready to rock and roll. Just coat these around.
And
I'd hazard to say they look like a
sugar.
snowball. Quite welcoming, lest you know what lies beneath. Behold the beef sugar.
Oh, I'd be so mad if someone served those to me like that. Because at first glance, this makes me think, oh, they're Mexican wedding cake cookies. Or they're Russian tea cake cookies. Both have, you know, it's same cookie, same name. These immediately look like really poorly rolled Russian tea cake cookies. They don't look like rice balls. They look like Russian tea cakes or Mexican wedding cake cookies. These better be good.
Sugar plums and weep. And I mean, they held together, they rolled well, and they look rather festive. Cheers.
Oh, the softness. It like springed back. What? No. What? No.
Dare I say that's lovely? The top notes I'm picking up on are raisin and apple. I can taste the rum or the brandy if you choose so. There's a chew from the nuts. It looks good. What a strange day. Wow, they are mincemeat protein balls. Emphasis on the meat, sure. And if you don't believe me, and I know some of you don't, you've got the recipe. Whip up a batch and see for yourself.
Fox! Put it down for our cup-a-thon goals. Put it down. We're gonna do both recipes.
I'm quite certain that you'd like them. Okay, perhaps certain's a strong word. The texture, no, not the texture. There's a resistance, a bounce to this that is unnatural. I mean, everything else about this is straightened up and flying right. Even the flavor, the apples and the raisins and the brown sugar seems to have taken the beef in and allowed it to shine. It's rather harmonious, not hidden like the beef was in the beef fudge, but the beef here is incognito. I can't quite believe I'm sat here in front of you defending a beef sugar plum, but I appear to be doing just that. And I hope you're not calling my mental fortitude and constitution into question, because if you tasted one of these, you'd know exactly what I mean. It's an old-fashioned scratch dessert. It tastes like mincemeat, but it seems to get a pass to use beef in dessert. Would they taste better without the beef? High chance, yes. What have we learned today with this beautiful array of one-of-a-kind recipes? I'd like to know your take, but I'll offer you my stance. I think if you're trying to get more people to eat more beef, you should tell them to make more hamburgers.
Yes.
Because this was quite the...
Just do more hamburger. More hamburger. More hamburger.
roller coaster. The bread and the spice cake were disturbing. I'm just telling it how it is. The beef fudge, well, I don't know what happened there. The chocolate's a hell of a thing. And the beef sugar plums, which by all rights appear to stand proudly on their beefy merits. Boy, I'd sure like to know if you folks have any advice or inputs on how we might improve any of these recipes, barring removing the beef entirely, of course. I'd like to know if you've tried any of these, if you have any beefy stories, or if you're planning on trying any of these. But above all, I'd like to thank you so much for sticking around this long. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.
They come and go.
Well, it looks like 2 of these we're gonna be making for a stream. Somebody help me!